Big changes rarely happen all at once. At Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness, they happen one class at a time.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Jennifer. We're the owners and instructors at Okami Kai.
Most parents come to us wanting the same things: confidence, focus, and resilience for their kids.
They want a place that feels supportive, not overwhelming. Somewhere their child can try, struggle a little, and learn to keep going.
We've been guiding families in our community for years, and we've seen real growth happen, one class at a time.
Kids learn to listen, try again, and work through challenges, one class at a time.
Parents get to watch confidence build through practice and not pressure, one class at a time.
Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness, one class at a time. Visit okamikai.com to get started.
Welcome back to the Okami Kai Chronicles as we start the second year of this podcast with a very special episode. Kyoshi Robert Christie was recently promoted to Kyoshi and given a 7th degree black belt in karate this past December along with myself. He is the director of Northern Karate Schools Ajax location, and today we're going to talk about his journey. How he got started, how he moved from student to instructor, and eventually how he stepped into the role of dojo owner. He is a nationally certified coach, he is a professional life coach, but what stands out most is not his resume, it's his reliability. He shows up, he cares, and he keeps learning. Now, quick announcement for our Okami Kai family. Kyoshi will be teaching here at Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness on Monday, February 23rd. At 5:30 p.m., he'll be teaching our youth class for ages 6 to 11, and at 6:30 p.m., he will be teaching our adult and teen class. This is completely free for all Okami Kai students, so if you train with us, you're going to get access to an amazing instructor at no extra cost. And I guess, whether you train with us or not, you're also getting the benefit of Kyoshi Christie's knowledge right now as we get into this interview. Kyoshi Robert Christie, after many attempts, is finally coming to the dojo. I believe you were supposed to come before COVID. Then COVID happened, obviously. And then we were supposed to have you here just a couple months ago. And then that sort of got sidewind too. So really glad you're finally, well, as far as we know, arriving this month.
I remember that. I was so happy to have you scheduled for Ajax. And I think it was actually in March. And all of a sudden, this COVID thing just blew up. And I couldn't have you here. Then I couldn't even go to see you. And then this past little bit, it's like, oh my goodness.
We're like ships in the night.
Yes. and we're only we're close distance too. That's the thing. You think we're on opposite ends of the country.
Yeah, exactly. So you're the only Durham region Northern Karate School. Am I right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Do you see that there's a difference as far as maybe what you're marketing just because of the neighborhood? Are your students, do you see anything different as far as a Northern Karate Ajax compared to Northern Karate Midtown or Maple or Richmond Hill or another location?
I think each one of our schools has a different demographic, maybe a stronger demographic. I shouldn't say it could be completely different. And I think sometimes they're looking for different things. Some people are really into, I want martial arts for that discipline. And I want that because I want my child to get the best education and I want them to study more. And then you actually have cultures that are saying, well, you know what? I'm concerned about the times. I want self-defense for my kid and to deal with bullies at school. And I think there is a difference between all of us. From my experience, I'm very, very fortunate. I helped run Richmond Hill for many, many years. And obviously I've had Ajax for many years now. And I can tell you the difference is like Saturdays in Richmond Hill were crazy busy and Saturdays here are quiet as can be. It's like tumbleweeds, go through the dojo, so to speak. It's just people have different things out here.
With that being said, what do you think is your primary focus?
I think I got a combination of things. I do know that a lot of parents out here are concerned about the bullying that takes place in school, and those schools have the zero tolerance. I don't know if they know exactly how to apply that zero tolerance. And sometimes the victim, instead of being helped, gets isolated more. They remove the victim from the scenario and don't necessarily deal with the aggressors or the bullies. And I think that's something where people come and they say, you know what, I want my child to be strong. I want them to be able to advocate for themselves. I want them to be able to stand up for themselves. And I think that's a lot of the dominant thing out here.
So maybe let's backtrack that a little bit then. So what got you into martial arts?
I lived in a small town outside of Ottawa called Kemptville. And we didn't have a huge population of anything. And like any other kid in the 60s, 70s, I would see a martial arts movie or Bruce Lee and just thought it was amazing. Then a friend down the street, he got into Kung Fu. His father was a black belt in karate and a teacher at the school. And I just thought, this is so cool. But we didn't have any exposure in that town. And one day I was just flipping through a local newspaper, our events, and I saw this picture of a woman standing in a back stance with a Shudo block. And I'd never seen anything like that. You never saw that in the movies or whatever. And I just thought, this is so cool. And oh my goodness, they're opening a school here and I want to go and I want to try it out.
And so fast forward, so that was in Kempville. How did you get into Northern Karate Richmond Hill?
The great thing about starting in Kempville was they had twice a week. And then in neighboring towns, they had it twice a week. So I was able to go like 6 days a week. I just went to 3 different towns, Kempville and 2 others. And through that, our area manager was Sensei Patty Savage at the time. Through him, I met other people, and I ended up with the World Kabuto Federation, Hanshi John Terrier. Amazing man, absolutely loved the guy. And eventually, my life, I got married, I did all the stuff, and I was in Ottawa, and I had an opportunity to move to Richmond Hill. And I was up here, and I thought, well, I want to continue my karate training. So I picked up the phone, and I called Hanshi John Terrier, and I said, where can I train in Toronto to do karate? Like, I want a good school. He goes, Northern Karate. He goes, you got to go to Northern Karate. He goes, my son goes there. And I said, oh, great. Okay. So I looked, and it's old because I looked through the yellow pages at that time. And there was 3 schools. There was the Don Mills location, there was the Steeles location, the Don Mills and Central. And I called the Steeles because it was closest to me. I was living at Bayview and Highway 7. And I spoke to, I didn't know him at the time, but I spoke to Hanshi Steve Oslis. And he goes, listen, I got one of my students opening a school in Richmond Hill. You should go see him. And I went and I met Sensei Tony LaSalva at the time, who's now Hanshi. I met with him. I really liked him. And he kept phoning me every day. When you coming in to try a class? When you coming in? And lo and behold, next thing I know, I'm joined. And I'm just like amazed because I saw this Northern Karate group at Capital Conquest. They come in, they do katas, they do this, they do that. And I just went, wow, these guys are great. And I can't believe I'm part of this organization. And I just seemed to really click or bond with Hanshi LaSalva. And of course, Hanshi Burkowski is outstanding. And I didn't know him as well in the beginning because I didn't get as many opportunities to meet him and train with him. And I've been very blessed, to be very truthful.
How do you go from student to dojo owner?
I think that was a growth process. Like I went in and Richmond Hill was just starting off. Hanshi LaSalva had just finished a 6-week self-defense course in the aerobics studio. And he said, I'm going to be starting regular classes in the aerobics studio. Come in and join. I said, okay, great. And then, you come in, you train, you get to know everyone. And there was only 4 of us, I think, in the first class for a little while. And then it built and built. And I said, look, I'm happy to help. I came here as a Nidan. I graded to Shodan under YKKF, under Sensei Ron Yamanaka. And then I graded to my Nidan under Sensei Robert Panton in Montreal. And I came here and said, I want to help. So he said, yeah, great, come in and help. And I just started helping with classes. And one thing led to another. And then I'm like, well, can I do more? So I took pride in the dojo. I wanted to clean. I'd help clean or organize. And so I just kept taking on more responsibility. And it just got to the point where a job I was doing up here had shifted. And I approached Hanshi LaSalva and I said, look, if you need me, I'd love to come on and work for you. If that works, great. If it doesn't, I respect that. That led to a job. Next thing I know, he says, I can give you 30, 35 hours. That's great. And then he was having camp during the summer and he goes, you know what? You ever done camp? I said, yeah, I ran a youth club for quite a few years. And he goes, great. I need you for camp and I need you for nights. So next thing I know, I'm doing 70 hours a week. And just taking on more roles and more roles. And as I grew and he taught me more about the dojo and how to run a successful dojo and how to teach and how to do things, I started to try and take more responsibilities off his plate and helped run Northern Karate Richmond Hill. And there was a couple times, he took me out. He said, hey, let's go to Newmarket. Let's look there. Let's go to Oshawa. Let's look. And I went, okay, and I'm very happy at Richmond Hill. And I wasn't rushing. But then, my kids grew up and I went, they're out of the house. And he said, you ever thought about Ajax? And I went, oh, I went out and took a look around. I went, yeah, wow, it's really grown since I last saw it. And lo and behold, I went, yeah, okay, fine. I think it's the right time for me to open a dojo. I like this area. And I'd been with him for 18 years by this point. And I just wanted to take it on, and I enjoyed what I did, but I love it out here too. You've got good people and everything, and it gave me a chance to look and say, okay, I really like how we did this in Richmond Hill, and what can I do that'll work in Ajax? And you kind of experiment on your own.
You touched on some of the differences as far as the demographics. What do you see are similarities and maybe differences as far as how you market compared to other Northern Karate schools?
A lot of us market the same, to be very truthful. When I started with Richmond Hill, the big thing was print advertising. You constantly sending out flyers and stuff like that. And of course, you would do the mobile signs and everything else. But social media now has taken obviously a bigger part of everything. You try and post more stuff on social media. You try and do ads through social media. I think Hanshi does an amazing job because, we have our group marketing costs and he really gets our name noticed on Google. And of course, each individual school is trying to do what it can by putting pictures or locations on Google or positive reviews. And I think all that stuff helps. But I went to door hangers a few years back before COVID, and the door hangers seem to really catch attention out here because sometimes the print media that gets put into a mailbox, people come in and throw the mail on the counter, you don't look at it, or they throw out the advertisements right away. For some reason, the door hangers seem to be a popular thing out here, and people come in, they look at it, they got to pull it off the door, they look at it more closely than they would in their mail, and that seems to have worked. We still do the mobile signs, especially for special events, but again, social media seems to be the key right now.
You recently just got promoted to your Kyoshi title, as well as me. And for me, it was sort of mind-boggling that I hit that level and got that title. What was it like for you?
I agree with you 100%. I have this huge frame. When I got my Godan, I had Bukama Sensei, and I can't remember the name of the other senior sensei that was there. And I had them sign my kamas, and I've got this huge frame in my living room. And I thought, wow, I made it to fifth, this is incredible. I never dreamed of this when I was 16 years old and starting karate. And I was stunned by that. And then, you move on, eventually you go on to sixth and then Shihan. And Kyoshi was not something that I ever saw as, it's going to happen. I thought, it could be 20, 30, 40 years down the road. And just to be honored to receive a message from Hanshi Bukowski to say, I'd like to promote you to Kyoshi like you. I just can't believe it. I sometimes just sit there and just go, wow. From a small town to living in the GTA and all of a sudden be the title like Kyoshi. Like the Kyoshis I looked up to and still do, who are now Hanshis, I look at what they've done and how they carried themselves as a Kyoshi. And I'm just like, boy, I hope I can follow that path and do what they did. And that's, some big shoes to fill. And I look at the people that were promoted, yourself, all these other guys, and I just go, wow, there's some amazing talent, some amazing teachers. And I just hope that I can live up to everything that's around me and demonstrate the best possible version of me and represent the title strongly.
Do you feel that's a pressure that you have to live up to that?
If I'm being truthful, I do think so. Maybe not a bad pressure. You know how sometimes you need that little push. I don't know how you feel about this, but something changed when I received the Kyoshi thing. And it wasn't an ego thing. It was, wow, I can't believe I made it. Okay, I got to work harder. Okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. But it was in a good way. I didn't feel it as a negative pressure. For some reason, there was a shift and I went, wow, I'm feeling really good about this. And every time something happens, I go, okay, well, I look at myself and I go, okay, well, this could be my last title. I want to make it, count. I want to have my own little legacy with it. But I want someone to look and go, you know what? He was a good guy. He was a good teacher. He was a nice person and he represented his belt well. There was no ego. I just want to have that positive impact on not only my students, but fellow seniors. Like I want people to look and go, okay, he was, he wasn't egotistical. He was really trying to live to the rank and be a good Kyoshi, a good teacher. Like, I just think it was a positive pressure. I don't know how else to explain that.
So how do you do that now? You want to do those things. You want to be a good teacher. You want to be a good martial artist. So what steps do you put into place now that you probably didn't put in before?
I think that you had some of them put in before, but you're maybe refining them. Hanshi de Salva used to use the analogy of when we start martial arts, we're this block of marble. And, you have a huge chisel and a huge hammer and you just knock chunks off to get better. And then you go down to a smaller chisel and a smaller hammer and, it's lighter tapping. And then, eventually you're going to some sandpaper. And I think some of the stuff you did before, it was there, but you're really trying to fine tune it. And you're trying to look at any area that you have that might be a negative and you're trying to turn it into a positive, or you're looking and going, okay, I want to show that if something's upsetting me, I don't want it to carry through like it might have in the past, or I want to be able to have better control. I now want to bring up the next set of leaders. I was trying before, but now I feel more of an urgency to do that. And I think part of that is when you look at Hanshi Bukowski and what he's accomplishing and what he's doing, or Hanshi John Terrier, or any of these guys, you can see them bringing the next select leaders up through, and you start making those fine-tuning elements in your own teaching, your own training, and your own way of looking at things.
If you're doing that, is there a general weakness that you can see that needs to be strengthened in students? Like you're looking for something that's a little more precise. You want to try to get out that sandpaper. Is there an area where you can say, okay, we can definitely work on this, whether it would be your students, whether it be other schools? Is there anything that you notice in a general format?
I think so. Going back to this COVID situation, the one thing that I've noticed is a lot of students are coming in and they have more anxieties and more fears than they did before COVID. I mean, they were very young when it took place and it lasted quite a few years. So a lot of them were schooled in front of a computer monitor. So they didn't have the social interactions. You can see those things. And then you kind of sit back sometimes yourself and say, okay, well, I was aware of it, but I was an adult and I came through it. But am I doing enough to help my students come out of that feeling of anxiousness or fear? Like, you were trying to do stuff and you're always trying to develop courage with your students. But sometimes you look and go, okay, you look at a situation, like I said, COVID, and you go, yeah, I was fine. I came through it. But you sometimes forget that it has a different effect on different people. So you start to say, okay, am I doing enough? What do I need to do to make this better? What will change it? And honestly, that's what I'm seeing with a lot of students. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're just very anxious. I had a young boy in just recently, and the anxiousness and not willing to go on the floor and just you can see it in their eyes. They're scared of almost everything. Even though it was a very fun class, you could hear the excitement of the other kids, and it was a small class, so it wasn't overwhelming, but there's a lot of trepidation right now in the students. And I think that, you need the teachers to bring that out, like to conquer that fear and provide that courage.
For me, my own personal journey is basically I've gone from just trying to do martial arts and doing that better to now I'm trying to be a better teacher. So it's good to practice your kata. It's good to practice your techniques. But there's also a point where if I'm looking at it from a self-defense point of view, I don't necessarily defend myself every day, but I do teach every day. So every day I'm starting to try to figure out how can I relate to students on a psychological level or on a neuroscience level or anything where I can present the information better. Are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, see, I like the way you said that. You and I have been friends for quite some time, and I do follow you and see what you're doing. And I like a lot of your posts when you're actually talking about the psychology. And I think that's such a key thing, what you're doing. And I do think that each one of us is trying to do that. We have our strengths. Like I remember even going for my Shodan, part of YKKF, you had to do the national level coaching certification process. And that talked a bit about psychology and so on. And I think that's a key thing. I also have a background. I became a life coach, and that opened my eyes to different things. And I think the way you said it is you're trying to find a way to communicate. Yeah, we're not going out every day and walking, downtown Toronto at 3 a.m. with $100 bills out of our pocket, therefore having to defend ourselves.
You don't have $100 bills falling out of your pocket?
Well, I have that funny money.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you buy it at the dollar store. Like you said, you're not fighting to protect yourself, but you are teaching students to defend themselves. So, you're looking at stuff. Okay, is this realistic for the times? Like I've done several ride-alongs with police officers, and I like to see what they face. I like to see that side of the community. It gives you a better idea. I've done several bullying sessions in schools, and it gives you a chance to meet with the teachers and the vice principal and the principal and see what it's like in the schools now, because it's been a while since I've been in school. So things change. When I was younger, if you got in a fist fight at the first recess, you played with the child at the second recess. Everything healed itself, but now you can see things linger longer. And I think that if you're not reading or studying something that makes you not only a better person, but a better teacher, then I don't know how you're going to improve. I mean, there are the people you learn from, Hanshi Bukowski, Hanshi LaSalva, all these guys, but you got to be doing stuff on your own. And I like, like I said, I've watched you, I've seen what you've done, and I've gone, I've read that book, or I bought this book in psychology a little while ago, and I've been reading it and trying to understand how the mind works. And I think that's important because you got to be able to relate to each student, because everyone is a unique individual, and you got to find how to relate to the person that's in front of you.
Next 5 years, what are your goals? Maybe your personal goals, your martial art goals, your dojo goals. What do you got on tap?
Listen, you said it best. I want to be better than I was before, but that involves different things now because every year you get older. So when it comes to jumping and stuff in the kata, okay, I'm not jumping as high, but I want my movements to be crisper. So I want to put in that extra practice. I want to look at my practices different. When I was younger, I try and do 30, 40 katas, in a day. Who cares? Go through the movements, remember the movements. Now I want to do 2 or 3, and I want to be a little more precise. I want to be more accurate on that. When it comes to the dojo, I want to be able to raise someone up, to see them kind of take over my role and watch them thrive. Over the years, I've been blessed to meet ex-students and go to weddings and graduations and talk to them. And I've had people say, you had a real impact on my life. And I want to continue that. I want that to be my legacy. I'm not like Trump. I don't need my name on the building. I just want to hear from my students. Oh yeah, you know what? You motivated me, and I went and I became a doctor, and I went and I became the best janitor in the world. Great. I just want you to be happy, and I want to see that. So I'm hoping I can raise someone up that will continue that with this dojo. I think that's a key part of that. As I look to my future years, obviously I want to keep myself healthy. I want to live as long as I can with my wife. I want to have those moments that, you get busy in the younger part of your life. I want to have a little more time to devote to my wife and do some traveling and things like that. But with the intent of studying another, not necessarily another art, but meeting different people that do the arts. Like I've been fortunate to go to the US and meet a couple of people at schools and stuff, stop in. And some people were very receptive and some weren't. But I'd love to go, to Indonesia or the Philippines and find someone that I can relate to and train with for, just to see different perspectives and learn. I think life is a constant learning process, and we try and better ourselves as we go.
Kyoshi, you and I talked a little bit about, what could you teach when you're here? And I know I'd mentioned to you that I really would like to get some more precision, some more sharpness out of our students. And yeah, sure, I think there's a point where obviously I can push for that, but there's also something that can be given when a guest instructor shows up. So I know that when we've had teachers here in the past, my students will come to me afterwards and say, oh, that really resonated me, what Hanchi Sai said or what Hanchi Tarian said. And I'm thinking, I said exactly the same thing last week. Why didn't you? Why didn't you focus? So if anybody can, just even from what you're saying, I'm looking for more precision. I want to see my students better. I think we're in for a real treat having you come and teach us. And I just couldn't be more thankful for that. And just thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate this so much. And I got to tell you, when you were here, when you left, I had students come to me and go, oh, is he coming back? So I really have to get you back, because it's like having kids. You could say something 1,000 times to them. They go to school and the teacher mentions it once and they come home and they say, oh, my teacher said this, so I'm going to start doing this. And you go, I said that 1,000 times to you. But you're right. Sometimes they deliver the message in such a different way and it clicks. And that's what I like about having guest teachers is sometimes you have a way of saying something or doing something that all of a sudden the kids go, ah, and I go, wonderful. I'm happy you got the message across. Doesn't matter about whether I got it across. I tried different ways. You walk in, you do it. I go, great, because now they understand it. So I'm hoping, like you, when someone comes in the door and they do or say something, I'm hoping that there is a lesson that my students pick up and they go, oh, I that little aha moment, I guess. And I thank you for that when you were here. And I look forward to another time. And I just think it's great because you're 100% bang on with everything you said.
Well, us Durham Northern Karate guys got to stick together. I guess there's only 2 of us. So
exactly.
So I couldn't be happier. I'm so glad we're finally connecting, like I said. So thank you again.
I thank you again for this opportunity. And it's always wonderful to speak to you. And it's always great to train with you, too. So thank you so much for all that.
This has been a Capsule Broadcasting production. If you think it takes patience and endurance to get a black belt, well, try getting a guy to come from Ajax to teach at your school. I don't want to jinx it. This has been such a long time coming, but I know it's going to be worth the wait.